So from today's class, the OData part will start. So it does not mean that we are taking only the OData classes from now. No, as I already mentioned, in every day, some part will be the backend and some part will be in the front end. Maybe if a backend concept is basing on a backend concept, if there are more front end concepts dependable, then till that backend concept is over, means the depending front end concepts of that particular backend stuff is over. So we'll continue all those topics. Okay, so from now onwards, the things will be more interesting and more towards the real time. Okay. So till now, whatever the classes we have seen, they are pure front-end stuff, like screen designing, validation. So these are the things which we handle at the front end, even before the OData service is ready in your real-time projects. All right. Today you will get the user ID and password for your SAP GUI access. So all of you can install this SAP GUI. This is called Logon Pad or SAP GUI. You can install 750 or 760 as well. So all of you take a screenshot of this system. So I'm giving the properties. So you need to give the same application server, instance number, system ID, and description. So these are the properties. So if you want to take a photo, you can take a photo and add our training server. Okay, and those people who join from index ID, so you will be provided with a system from your institute. Okay, so you take that particular server. So for this server, only those people who directly attended to me, okay, who directly came to this training from my side, so you can take this server. Okay, so index ID guys, you will get a server from your institute, and even credentials also he will provide. Okay, all right. So before we start the OData project and all, so let us first briefly recap why this particular OData is needed. So what is the importance of OData in our SAP UI5 project? So let us understand that. So just to recap this particular slide, 1 second. Yeah. So just to recap this slide, you can see in any SAP UI5 project, in addition to the backend system, there will be a SAP Gateway system. And inside the SAP Gateway system, we keep the OData service. Now, the main thing you need to understand is, take any web application. Basically, any web application performs what? Only two things. One is sending data from front end to back end, or getting the data from back end to front end. Only these two things. And these two things are divided into CRUD queue operations. Okay, so creating the data, updating the data, deleting the data, reading the data, or querying the data. Right? So basically all these operations performs only two things. One is either they send the data from front end to back end, or they get the data from back end to the front end. Only two things. But these two things are divided into CRUD queue operations. Okay, so create operation will create a new record in the table. Update operation, update the record in the table. Delete the record in the table. Read the single record from the table. Query operation can read multiple records from the table, and also it can apply the filters on the table. So that is the difference between the read operation and query operation. So in interviews as well as in certification, this is one question, and that is, what is the difference between the read operation and query operation? The read operation can read single record from the table. Query operation can read multiple records from the table. And in the query operation, we can apply the filtering as well, filtering and sorting as well. Okay, right. So here in today's class, I'm going to focus main on why this OData service is needed. Okay, let's understand that a little bit from the depth and a few simple examples as well, some layman examples as well. Okay, see, any any database system will contain tables, and on the tables, okay, on tables to write the CRUD operations, we write the queries like insert query, update query, delete query, or so we also to manipulate the data, to process the data, we also write some business logic. Okay. Now in our SAP systems, this particular business logic is written in ABAP language. ABAP. Okay. Fine. So this business logic, if I write in ABAP language, and I can write all the processing logic as well as create, update, all this logic I can write in the backend system. Okay. Now the next question comes is, when I can already write this logic in the backend system, so what is the need of this OData service? What is the need of this OData project? The reason is, if we can still write all these in the backend, okay, whatever the logic, processing logic, the data manipulation logic, CRUD operations, all that stuff, you can write the backend. But you can never ever expose that as a web application. For example, if the web application concept itself is not there in the world, okay, let's say web application concept itself is not there, then you are fine, you are good. Once upon a time, that is what is SAP. Will you agree with me or not? Once upon a time, before this web applications, all that stuff is not there, that is what is SAP. SAP has all its backend stuff. You use it to log into SAP GUI, and you use it to perform all these things from backend itself. From the different T codes and all, you can do it. I can write a ABAP program and I can insert the data. I no need to have a web application. Getting my point? So we are already good with SAP for performing all the CRUD operations and all by writing programs, function modules, all that stuff. Then why this particular OData project has come, OData service has come, all these things, why they got introduced? The reason is the world is moving towards web application. Not now, almost 20 years, 30 years back itself, that the world is moving towards the web applications. I'm not talking about today's world. I'm talking about 30 years back world. So at that time, 30 years back, 25 years back, the world is moving towards web applications. Okay. So that is the reason why the additional technologies has came into picture. Okay. So that is why the OData project we need to create. The outcome of the OData project is a OData service. So this OData service needs a server in which it can be deployed. Okay. So OData service is deployed in the SAP Gateway system, because the SAP Gateway system contains the convenient, the software components to receive the request from the browser. So it receives the request from the browser and it checks the OData, it checks the request and redirect the execution to the appropriate functions in your OData project. Okay, so I will give one example why this OData project is created. So inside the OData project, actually what do you have? The OData project contains the business logic for your CRUD queue operations on your tables. Okay, I repeat once again, the OData project contains the ABAP business logic. So you will write the business logic in ABAP only. So that business logic, why are you writing? To perform the CRUD queue operations on these tables. Okay. Now next question that comes is, when you have already written this business logic, again why OData service? The reason is your front-end web applications all are in a Java and JavaScript based frameworks, right? So those frameworks, those technologies cannot call your ABAP logic directly. So there is a mediator, and that mediator is OData service. Okay, so what is OData service? A OData service is a replica of your business logic. Okay, so if you call this OData service, it will internally call that corresponding methods. Okay, so for this, I'm going to give one technical example so that you will understand about what is OData service, why this has been came into picture or not. So this is a very good example, guys. Please pay attention. So let us say there is a site. So this particular site is tsrtc.in. Okay, tsrtconline.in. How many of you know this tsrtconline.in? How many of you know? Come on, just wanted to know what is this site, by the way. tsrtconline.in or apsrtconline.in. How many of you know, guys? Maybe raise your hand. Okay, right. Do you know there is a option to raise your hand in this? Yeah, so most of you know. So what is this site? So this is the site where you can book a bus for your transport from anywhere to, from one state to other state or within the state in this by using this Telangana State Road Transport Corporation. That is what is tsrtconline.in. Now, whenever there is a web application, there will be a database as well. So this is the database of tsrtconline.in. So this database contains what? The database contains the tables, right? Tables or any business logic, all that stuff this particular database will contain. Okay, your booking information, bus information, cancellation information, or driver information. So whatever it is, so this particular database will contain. Okay, now I'm basically going to explain why this OData service or web service. OData service is also a web service. So why this web service has came into picture actually? This is because of two reasons. One is, if your front-end technology cannot communicate with your backend language, backend technology, that is one reason. And there is one more significant reason, and that is what you are going to understand now. This tsrtc online web application can directly communicate with this backend database and its logic actually. So if you want to book a ticket, if you want to cancel a ticket from tsrtconline.in, this web application can directly contact its database. Getting my point? So the direct contact to the database was given only for tsrtconline.in, whether you know it or not. But my next question is, will you able to book a bus only through tsrtconline.in website? are there no more websites to book a bus in our TSRTC from any other websites? Can any one of you tell me any other website through which you can book a bus in our RTC buses? Anyone?
We can
Don't you
use
know any other? Red bus. Very good. Any other? Mahesh Babu will come in and add. What is that?
Abibus.
Huh?
Abibus.
Abibus. Okay, right. So here, redbus.in, abibus.in, redbus.in, abibus.in. Now, these web applications developed by whom? We don't know. Somebody has developed it. Okay. Now, do you think abibus.in, redbus.in will get the direct access to this particular database? No. Why? They are not official TSRTC websites. They are some third-party websites. They are from third-party websites. So, for the third-party websites, if you give the direct access to the database, then they can do anything. Right? They can do anything. It is not secure to give the direct access to the database to the third-party websites. Isn't it? Then what they do is, inside this particular official database, what they do is, only for tsrtconline.in, which is an official website, they will provide the direct access to the database and their business logic. But for whatever the third-party websites like redbus.in, abibus.in and any other third-party web applications, so for them what they do is they write the business logic at the back end. They write the business logic at the back end for some booking a ticket, cancelling a ticket and all. Okay, so business logic for so just business logic for everything, booking a ticket, cancelling a ticket, driver information, blah blah blah, whatever it is, and they expose this particular business logic as a web services, and they keep those web services in the web in a separate server. Okay, so this will be another server where the web services will be deployed. Okay, so now let's say there is a web service for a booking a ticket. So each web service will receive the data also from the web application. So for example, let's say there is a web service called book ticket. So book ticket is a web service, for example, book ticket. Now each web service will take some input and it gives some output. Okay, so which is called request response. Now the redbus.in or abibus.in people, what they do not have the direct access to the database. They simply call this web service. Okay, they call this particular web service. So since this particular web service is a replica of this business logic, okay, it's a replica of this business logic. So this, when you call this particular web service, it will basically go to the backend and execute the corresponding business logic that you have written. This is just a kind of a interface. So you call this interface and this interface will call the actual backend logic. So here I want to give one layman example. For example, there is a bulb. Okay. You want to switch on the bulb. To switch on the bulb, will you directly pick up the wires and then connect the wires on the spot? Are you doing that? Anybody in your homes? If you want to switch on the fan, will you directly take the wires of the fan and then you are binding both of the red wire and green wire? No, we are not touching that interface. What we are doing, we are just touching the switch. When the switch is on, when we are pressing the switch, automatically the switch is connected to that particular red and green wire inside, and then the power is passing to the fan or light, and then the bulb is switching on. What is that? That is also an interface, right? So basically internally what is happening, the red and green wires are touching each other and the current is passed to the fan. That is what is internally happening. Okay, but are we doing that? No, we are end users. What we are doing, we are just pressing the plastic switch and that thing is happening internally. So exactly same thing here as well. These web applications, they are provided with an interface. Okay, and though that particular interface is web service, we are keeping a web service to them, and that web service internally come and call our business logic only. Okay, so that is basically the concept of a web service. Web service, service in the web. I am providing you some service in the web, some other server, basically not the database system. I don't want to give my database system, but if you want to book a ticket in my database system, then I am providing you a service in a web, and that is what is called as web service. I am providing a service in the web. Okay, so most of the web applications that are developed nowadays, or even from last 10 years, if you see, all of them are web service based. From almost 15 years, all of them are web service, web service, web service. So previously web service concept is not there. At least when as far as I know from the web technologies 20 years back, at that time there is only front end, and front end used to call the backend directly. That's all. No other person in the middle. But later on, they understand that this is a very narrow approach. So if we just have the web application and database, only two things, then you are directly giving the access to the database, which is not correct. So and also you don't have these many. For example, if you are directly giving the access to the database, then you are limiting your option with only tsrtconline.in. That's all. So let's say web service concept is not there in the world, then you are limiting your option. People can book the ticket only through tsrtconline.in. There is no other option, right? But now, since the web service concept has came into the picture, so we have multiple options. I can use redbus.in, I can use avibus.in, I can use maybe yatra.com, blah, 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 right? Yeah. So remember always, you will going to write your business logic in the backend only, but this business logic will be exposed as a web service, a kind of a skeleton you can call it as. Okay. So basically this entire business logic is exposed as a web service. When you call this web service, basically it will fall back to this OData project only. Okay, inside the OData project, it executes the corresponding logic. Right. So now I hope you got a understanding about what is OData service or not. Now let's go and create our OData project.